o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Grant, thanks for coming to your vacation. Please rise.
Bow your heads with me. Father in heaven, we give you great thanks that each of us woke up this morning. What a great gift of life you've demonstrated towards us in your mercy. We thank you that we can call upon you as our Father because of the work of Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection, and his ascension. I ask that for all those present, supervisors, and all those here this morning, that truth that Christ is Lord and Savior would so permeate our hearts that all would bow the knee and believe. Lord, as we consider what is on the docket this morning, all the many ways in which these supervisors and these attendees are going to think through the best ways to live in this world, I ask, Lord, that you would give grace, that those that govern, rule, that they would do so recognizing that you, God, have appointed them to this post, that you call them to be your servants. And so as a result, that they would govern and rule and operate in such a way that they would fear you more than fearing any man. They would do what is right. They would listen to what you have said in your word, knowing that they will give an account to you, Father, on the last day. And so they need not fear the opinion of man, but only rightly fear you. Would you cause them to govern rightly, to do right, and they need not fear man. I thank you for them in the way that you've raised them up under your lordship to do what they are going to do this day. Please give them wisdom, and may at the end of this morning, may all of us be able to say, you were glorified. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Thank you, Brent.
All right, very good. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Clifton.
Here.
Fitch. Stansel.
Here.
All present. Before we approve our consent agenda, we have a late court county use permit application yesterday, so I'd like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to include the courthouse use permit from Kibber Sweet.
So moved.
Motion
I'll
by Heather,
That's okay.
second by Diane. All in favor of amending the agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the amended agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. We have two public hearings this morning. Ask for a motion to enter into a public hearing for the minor subdivision to be known as Parker Acres subdivision. Do I have a motion to do so?
So I'll second that. I'll try.
Who's first?
Give it to Doug. She can do it.
Diane?
No,
Motion by Diane, second by Heather. All in favor of entering a public hearing at 10:03 a.m. indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Brian, the floor is yours. Everything was published as required?
Yes.
And did you receive any written comment?
I just received comment from Secondary Road.
Regarding the driveway?
Yep, which I will add in my report here. This is, you care if can I shut this off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is for Parker Acres subdivision final plat. This is an estate plat for Jay Wilden. Vicki Martin is the executor of that estate, which is the applicant for this plat of subdivision. Property owners are Jay and Mary Wilden, which are both deceased. It's taking 3 parcels listed there on my report. They're all currently zoned agricultural. Acreage is 56.66 acres, and they're looking to split that into 2 separate lots. So it's like 28 28 acres apiece, I believe. The current legal use of this land contains a number of dilapidated structures, which I have been told in this process they will probably be removed from the site as they're not habitable, not usable buildings. Portions of it are enrolled in a CRP program, have been over a number of years, and the rest of it is pasture ground. Relevant history of this particular project. The requested area was purchased from the Emerson Irely Estate in June of 1984 by J. and Mary Wilden and Thomas and Marcia Griffith. Both of the lots, this entire area is outside any of the floodplain. We don't have any issues there. Staff has determined the CSR2 of the area to be 53.89. Prime productive farm ground in Madison County is known as 70 CSR for our comprehensive plan, so we're under that. The plat was not within any 2-mile incorporated city, therefore no municipal review was necessary. Each of the lots have its own access off of St. Charles Road. Proposed lot 2 has an existing driveway entrance to the farmstead there. This will remain the entrance of record. And then driveway 1, or lot 1, has a driveway application and has been executed by the Madison County Engineer's Office for approved. It has been approved. The construction of this driveway will need to be approved once the construction of it is completed. It's installed. I sent notification to Soil and Water Conservation District, Madison County Conservation, the Sheriff's Office, Attorney, NRCS and Secondary Roads, and I received comment from Madison County Secondary Roads stating all driveways or entrances to the proposed lots are existing or have approved permits. The entrances or driveways will become the entrance of record for the subdivision. In the attorney's opinion, it just shows there's 2 entries in that for Madison County for road use, road purposes, I should say. And then the other one that was noted was Warren Water District has easement there as well. Staff has given consideration to the goals of the comprehensive plan, the requirement of both Madison County zoning ordinance and the Madison County subdivision regulations, and found that the plat to meet all of those requirements. All documentation has been submitted, reviewed, and found to be in compliance. Therefore, the staff is recommending approval of this plat.
Very good. Anyone wish to comment on this particular matter?
Does it have to be removed from CRP then?
It wouldn't have to be removed from CRP if they're not building on.
So they'll just leave this existing CRP and build, or take down those old buildings?
It's already been removed from CRP.
Oh, you already removed it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, they.
Yeah, so if it was still under contract, they would just have to buy it out.
Yeah, I know.
But it sounds like it's. the
So you already
CRP
bought
is-
it out, okay.
Or the contract is done.
The staff was able to take it out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, very good. If there's nothing else, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing for the Parker Acre subdivision.
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next public hearing is final budget amendment for the FY23 budget. Do I have a motion to enter into a hearing for that?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are in a public hearing at 10:09 a.m. for our budget amendment. Shelley, everything was published as required?
It was,
Did you
yes.
receive any written comment?
None.
All right, walk us through this then, please.
Okay, so it's a much smaller amendment than we had last time. The Veterans Affairs, I added in the $10,000 for his veteran allocation expenses. So he receives $10,000 a year currently. And so this is just him spending those funds. Elderly services, we had budgeted in $500 for the aging resources dues, and elderly services actually pays those themselves, so I reduced that by $500. Non-departmental CDBG grant payments, so that is offset with revenue down at the bottom. We just need to include or add a line for those expenses to be able to spend that money. Your budget, the Board of Supervisors budget, I lowered by $20,000 because you've not spent your full $40,000 for your comp plan. So I'll need to move $20,000 to FY24. So as soon as we start into July 1, we'll work through an amendment for that as well. Mental health admin, that is just, so they had sent us money to pay for Christie's wages, June hours paid in July, but we actually ended up paying her everything she was due at the end of June. So now we just need to send them that money back. So that's just allowing us the expense line to be able to do that. Audit and dues, the CCOG dues were $200 above budgeted amount, so I increased that line to cover that. And then debt service, there was a little difference in the interest, so I need to increase that by $127 to cover the interest for that. Additional treasurer's revenue, $40,281. That's just for interest on investments. The interest rate for investments is way up right now. So they are bringing in $40,000 more in total revenue for their department than was originally stated. Additional conservation revenue, this is just donations and private grants, $71,000. Additional zoning revenue for increase in building permits, that was $10,000. And then that departmental revenue for the CDBG grant funds, the revenue $81,393, which matches the expenses. So final fund balance, we're actually increasing our fund balances for the end of the year by $128,103.
All right, very good.
Great.
Anybody have any comments regarding the budget amendment?
I just have a comment for the elderly services. Does that mean we're gonna have to amend it next?
Yeah, we'll need to lower next year,
Okay.
yes, and then we'll just make sure that going forward, we don't budget for that anymore, that $500, because they started paying it on their own. And at 1 year, we paid it and they paid it, and so, yeah, so,
Okay.
anyways, we'll just remove that from the budget. I'll probably inactivate that line, so we don't have to worry about that going forward.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you, Shelley. I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So,
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Public hearing is adjourned at 10:13 a.m. All right, this is the public comment section of our agenda. Anyone from the public wish to comment at this time? If so, raise your hand. Neil?
I need this microphone, do I? My voice moves, doesn't it?
You're a little,
All right.
plenty loud.
Can you hear me over there? Perfect. Okay. So, first I want to introduce Lexi Davis. She's right there. She won't stand up here because she won't. But she's for summer intern. She goes to Embry-Riddle. She's from Winterset originally, so it's been great to have her on board as an intern. I guess the biggest things I want to talk about, I guess two things. One is Hinterland's coming. So that is the first week of August. That's important. Resource-wise for our county, we're getting ready for that, but that's something that's coming up. So traffic should be better because St. Charles Road is open, right? So last year it wasn't, the bridge was out for construction, so that should be pretty good. We just had a guy come here from the towers, Terminal Towers, right? There we go. Foundation for 9/11. He was here yesterday. I think Supervisor Fish met with him. So it's emergency management. It's a big deal for us. And I guess the only other thing that I have is from the tornado update, everything is pretty much gone. The disaster recovery fund, that money is closed out. Tom Leonard's closed that funding out. There is money left from the chamber that we're going to do that signage in the park sometime this year before it gets too cold. But that's pretty much it. So.
Excellent. Great, thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions. Our first resolution is appointing Aaron Hardesty as the acting county attorney effective July 2nd until the vacancy is filled. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Aaron, thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Andrew, sorry to see you go, and good luck in your new endeavors with the state.
Thank you.
We can still ask you questions, all right?
You got my phone number.
Okay.
All right. Next is approving an amendment to the fiscal year 23 budget. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next is a supervisor resolution approving vacancy of the county attorney to be filled by appointment on July 11th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? And Aaron and Andrew, you'll work with the auditor's office to get everything published as required?
Yeah, that should be a part of the resolution there is publishing as well.
Yep, perfect. No other discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a resolution approving a work agreement between Madison County Secondary Roads and Harry Pettit. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our final resolution is a zoning resolution to approve the final plat of Parker Acres subdivision. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we have a motion to approve an application for a temporary liquor and wine license for the Hinterland Music Festival. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next application is to approve an application for annual liquor license for Covered Bridges Winery. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we want to put the?
That's gonna be the next.
Yeah.
And the final item would be the Madison County grounds use permit for Kibber Sweet Corn from July 7th to August 7th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So moved. I'll second.
A motion by Heather, second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we're down to board member reports. Anyone have anything to report on?
Ryan, go first.
I attended historic preservation, and I'm still working with Homeland Security on the landfill, on our $1 million no-interest loan. Got rid of all the furniture upstairs that we had to remove, and the landfill took almost all of it for their offices. That's about what I've done.
Heather?
We had a safety committee, meeting. We chose to, get water, I wanna say water coolers for lack of a better word, for each of the floors, to spend some of our safety money, so people have access to pure, clean water. Let's see, I had a couple meetings with Iowa Workforce. We're still working through the issue regarding the Department of Labor's question on spending. So we've hired an attorney and a CPA that has done official response to the Federal Department of Labor as to why we don't think it's an issue. So we're, that's gonna be sent. I should have more information on that, and once they respond. So it can take up to 30 days, so we're kind of waiting on that. Courthouse construction meetings, I think that is it on that, yep.
I had an aging resources meeting on June 15th, pretty standard report on that, and that does not meet in July or August, to take those 2 months off. And then on the 22nd of June, we had a CICS meeting. We approved all the transitions that we needed to do to accommodate the changes for the state, where we can't have over 50% of the board members be county supervisors. So 6 of us will remain on as as voting members of the governing board, I will be on for a 2-year term, and they're staggered out, so that they'll eventually rotate through, so. So I will continue on that board, and then there'll be a kind of advisory board of the other supervisors that will meet on a quarterly basis for updates and stuff. I hope that's well attended and participated in. It's pretty easy to lose interest when you're not,
Yeah, it is.
when you're just going for information only,
Mhm.
but you know, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's what I had for meetings. Any old business?
I have a question.
Yes.
Speaking of losing interest because it's not governed, what about the fifth judicial? Any more information on that?
No, haven't had even a call for another meeting. I think they're going to try to hold them, but Hawkins Smith, who was always the chair from Polk, has stepped down off that board.
Mm,
So it will lose. And there's a lot of controversy between the state and the director, and I think he was wonderful. I thought they did a great job.
it's just disappointing. Oh, one more thing, I don't know if you guys have heard, Tracy has tendered her resignation at Natura. So, they're gonna be looking, they've already, I don't know if they posted it yet or not, for a replacement for the Madison County.
What about the other gal that works in there? She's great.
I don't know. So they have to post, so she may apply for it, I don't know. So I think her last day is the 11th.
Didn't have quite the tenure that Annie did.
I don't know, she was there a year, a little over a year, so yeah, so
Those
she's,
would be hard shoes to fill.
yeah. She's done excellent work. I get constant compliments.
Of Aunt.
No, of Tracy.
Oh, good.
So yeah, I've
Did
had a
she
lot
get
of
a
people.
better job?
Don't know. I did talk to her, so I don't know what her final plans are, but I think it has to do with pay.
Oh, sure.
So anyway, so I don't know if you guys have heard, I just want to make sure.
All right,
you're
thanks for the
aware.
update. Any old business? Moving on to new business, we have the HR director position on there. Tessa is moving on to new employment the 7th, is that right? So it's coming right up, and we need to post for that position. That position originally reported to the Board of Supervisors, going back several years ago when Courtney was on maternity leave. Someone had to assume those duties. Well, none of us could really assume those duties, so they ended up falling back on the auditor's staff at that time. And there's so much payroll, there's a lot of overlap there. So we had moved that position back to reporting to the auditor's office, which I think has been a good thing. I would like to see it continue that way. That said, we need to recognize that position reports to the auditor's office, and that the auditor is the supervisor of that job, not us as supervisors. So that's what I would like to see happen. Shelley, I know you and I have had some conversations about this for a month or so now, and you're not really sure. You know, now you've got Sarah will have more time on her place, and she's not our board clerk, and discussing how to restructure that position potentially. But in either case, we need to get that position posted and hired. Any thoughts?
I have some thoughts. Tess did a presentation a while back regarding how to streamline some of the duties. She has a lot of manual duties because everything is paperwork. And she had presented to us an option to move a lot of that stuff online. I know True North currently has something that we can move, you know, onboarding and Cobra and a lot of the manual stuff we do online, both from HR position and for our employees. Obviously that was a cost. So we kind of tabled that. So I did reach out to True North to kind of get updated costs on that, just to see. And I come to find out that they actually offer a lot of HR services in addition to that. So my thought process is, given the changes in the law and limiting how much we can increase our budget, I'm wondering if this might be something we would want to look into to see if there's a way we can offload some of the HR duties to an outsourcing group. Obviously, we can't offload the personal touch, you know, But anything that we can offload and a way to save money, I think we should look at that. So, they do have, they are willing to do a presentation on what they can and can't do, as well as cost factors. Now, I don't know if it's gonna save money, I really don't. But going forward, I think at the minimum, we should consider moving a lot of these duties to an automated system to take a lot of this work off the backs of anyone who is in HR, because I think it will free up time and save us money in the long run.
I hesitate to go too far in that direction. We did that on the HERDA board. We had an outside firm take over all the HR, and we only did it for about a year, because it really was kind of it didn't work. You needed it, you know, it's our employees, we need to have more of a hand on it. If there's a way to simplify, there's a fair amount of busy work in that job, is there not, Shelley?
Normally, unfortunately, right now, it's all the legal stuff, the lawsuits and
Right.
that stuff that's eating up a majority of time right now.
Tess had mentioned to me, he said, if you're looking to change it from the auditor's office, she suggested the county attorney's office. And she does work closely with them when it comes to legal matters.
That's actually not a bad idea if we're dealing with mostly legal from a personnel standpoint. And then, I think we need to look at all our options, because our hands are severely tied financially going forward. And we're gonna have to figure out ways to cut costs, because the legislature has put a huge limitation on us. And as we know, there's other aspects outside personnel that are raising, that's gonna be costing more. So this is gonna put severe pressure on our general fund. So what I would like to do is at least consider figuring out if there's ways that we can outsource a portion to save some money. I don't think we should outsource everything. Obviously, we can't outsource payroll because we're a government entity. And a lot of the PEOs out there, right, they do packages. That's probably what HERDA did, is they did everything.
Shelley had her hand up there.
HR doesn't do payroll.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
Right.
your office does.
But what
payroll,
I'm saying-
there is a little overlap there from,
Right, but what I'm saying, from outsourcing to HR, at least from the private sector, usually when you outsource HR, it's everything. It's payroll, it's personnel, it's everything. So my point is that we can't do that. Based on my investigation, there's really no private entities that do payroll for government, so that has to remain here. So, so it's a little different, but I think that we should consider how much it costs us to have a dedicated full-time person, and see if there's a way that, if there's anything we can do to outsource a portion of it, reduce the workload to where we can perhaps use existing personnel, or just have a part-time position to handle HR for the personnel side. I think we need to think creatively on how to lower our spending, because I think we're in for a shock on what we can do come next budget season. I don't wanna be caught behind the 8 ball.
I hesitate to do part-time, because HR is one of those things where it happens when it happens. And you don't really know what that might look like. Shelley, if there's enough going on in the attorney's office right now with Andrew's resignation and whatnot, they're short-staffed at the moment. You could move it up there, but ultimately, at the end of the day, they're gonna work very closely with your office, no matter who oversees the position.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we have had that conversation of moving it to the county attorney's office, because I think that becomes the reference for a lot of legal things, and that seems to be what we're dealing with right now. It's never ending, from work comp claims to, I mean, all of that needs attorney guidance, and, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a better fit for it.
If we were to do that, how would that dovetail with your office? Because there's still gotta be a lot of overlap.
There is, but, we already share one employee, so I think we work fairly well together.
Mhm.
It would just be, they would work with the county attorney's office on the HR side, and then all of that would just flow into our office for processing payroll.
I think that when you outsource things, you lose a little bit of your own local control. and,
Well, we'd be hiring these people, so they would
I-
be reporting to the county, so we would control it. And I'm not saying everything, I think what we at least need to do is do our due diligence to see if there's anything that we can outsource that will lower costs. Because, you know, keep in mind, if we hire a full-time person with salary and benefits, you're talking about $100,000 in taxpayer cost. If we can figure out ways to lower that cost, either making the role more efficient so we can use existing personnel, or do some kind of part-time. Obviously, you have an excellent point regarding how it doesn't always happen on time. But right now, our HR position is part-time, because she's gone part-time. So what I'd like to do is at least explore the option of what kind of services a potential entity can offer, and see if there's a way we can dovetail that with something different. Lower costs, increase efficiency, increase the ability to work with employees. I would like to look into that. There's no harm in it.
I looked into it when I first started of sharing HR with other counties. I really absolutely reject it. I think sometimes, like he said, if you're an employee and you're dealing with maybe a child with cancer, doing stuff online just pushes you over the edge. You need a
That
human
wouldn't be
face.
something you would do online, Diane. That would be the personal touch that we made here. I'm talking about the busy work, the paperwork, the filing, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we should share HR with another county either. Obviously, it's an option, but I would prefer not. I would prefer that we maintain control. But I think that a lot of the stuff our HR department does is inefficient. And she works through what she can, but if we can offer tools and resources to them to make the job easier and quicker, I don't see why we can't look into that to try
By
to save some money.
outsourcing it.
By outsourcing the busy work, outsourcing or making it more efficient because it becomes digital rather than
So you can
paper.
hire a half-time person and have someone who already works here absorb that position.
Correct. So I think it's worth looking into, at least do our due diligence to see what's out there, rather than continuing to do what we've always done because we've always done it. I'd like to explore that because we are right now under restrictions for the legislature. We have to find ways to lower costs because we know that there's gonna be areas that the costs are gonna increase that we will not have any control over. So we are uniquely positioned right now to where we could potentially save some money and it would not affect any existing employees.
Unfortunately, the busy work things that you farm out are the easy parts of the job.
Yes.
The parts that would remain are the parts that require someone with kind of a professional background in HR to handle
They
those.
can
So-
deal with a really hard person.
So I don't know how you find a part-time person to assume those responsibilities.
Well, we don't know what we don't know. So we're making a lot of assumptions here when we've never really done the work to investigate. So what I'd like to do is at least do the work to investigate, to say, have we looked into this? It is a good fit, it's not a good fit, or maybe a hybrid fit, something like that, to where we have to get creative. We have to figure out ways to lower costs because we're gonna be making some very tough choices come January.
We've got a position that Tessa's agreed to kind of assist a little bit after she moves on to her next job, but I don't know how that works in reality.
Too busy
Right.
pretty soon.
So I think we should post for the position and we can work through some of these other items as we do that, but we can at least start getting some applicants in here
I'm not opposed to that.
and then see how we wanna do that, because I know we interviewed for this position the last time. It was a bit of a struggle to find someone with experience. Tess was far above the best candidate that
Should have
we
more
had.
experience.
So, would the board agree to at least having someone come in and give a presentation? So we can use doing things there. True North, we already work with them. Tess has spoken very highly of them. I didn't even know that they offer HR stuff until I talked to them about this, automating a lot of stuff. That Tess has been wanting, we just didn't have the money. So, I found that out in my conversations with them, and they're willing to come in and do a presentation. if the board
What I'd
is
like
willing.
to do now is to get that position posted, and in the meantime,
I can get it on the agenda for next meeting.
it's not your item put on the agenda, it's Shelley's item put on the agenda, because she oversees HR.
No, what I'm saying is the board is in charge of the budget, and if we decide we wanna do this, I wanna make sure we have all the information here. So I would like to have, the True North come and do a presentation on what kind of services they offer, so we can evaluate if that's something that we need to discuss further. We won't know unless we do that. And I'm a little, curious as to why we don't wanna look at all options, especially if it's an option to save the taxpayers some money.
What the situation is that we need to allow people to do their jobs and not work around their supervisors in situations like this. In the meantime, I think we should post, Shelley, I'd like you and Aaron to have a conversation on how you think that might work if they were to report to them. And how it might work to outsource some of the job. And maybe Tess has an opinion on that, since she's the one that's been doing the job for the last few years. And just because we posted for the position doesn't mean we have to hire it, and you can see what we get for applicants. That may drive the decision a little bit too. If you don't have an applicant that, well, there's nobody here that I think would be a good fit, well, then maybe that forces you to look at some of these other things.
I guess for clarification purposes, I would like to know why every time there's a vacancy or something changes in my department, why all of a sudden the answer is to cut the funding. But then when other departments have employees, have empty positions, it's okay for them to just hire. Like, I would just like clarification as to why I feel like I'm being targeted, and every time something comes up, the answer is, well, let's just take it from their budget. Well, let's just cut that. Well, let's just do that. Like,
Can
do you have
give
a
an
problem with me? Yeah,
You
yes.
have a problem.
No, I said, do you have a problem
No,
with
I
me?
I've had no problem.
Okay,
Okay,
then
this is
stop.
public
I
comment
would
time,
do
so
anything.
please keep your comments to yourself.
So,
Keep her comments.
let's
Oh,
keep
We're
that.
having excuse me, we're having a discussion
That
with her
wasn't-
office
So,
right now.
so
She
she
was
turned
talking
to
to
the member of
me.
the public, she turned to the member of the public and
And I
asked a
didn't do anything,
question.
I'm sucking on
She's
my
sitting there
coffee.
drinking her drink, and
Oh, she
Shelley
didn't say
initiated the
anything,
conversation.
Heather? She
Shelley
didn't mumble?
Shelley, you
She's sitting
initiated the
next to her.
conversation.
No, she's running her mouth. Jesus. Like, that's what came out of her mouth.
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, you
Well, you're
can't
not
hear it up
sitting
there,
next to
that's
her.
the
Okay,
point.
let's get back to the issue here. The issue here is, we need to figure out a way to lower spending. Ultimately, the money comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. This is not targeting of you, Shelley. This
But
has to do with taxpayers who we as a board are accountable for with the budget.
I understand,
So
but
if
the
we-
treasurer's office has had 2 open positions and nobody questioned anything about filling those. That was okay.
If the treasurer wants to outsource stuff, that's fine, but when it comes to HR, we actually do have input on that as a board.
You have input over
We-
her
we have-
department too, over
we-
her budget.
And every time that you've had an opening, when you've needed a first deputy or second deputy or anything like that, we actually had to add somebody, an elections clerk, and we approved that. So I'm having a hard time understanding why, when I'm trying to figure out a way to lower costs for the taxpayers, because we just increased their taxes 17%, I'm trying to figure out a way to where we can maintain services for our employees and at the same time try to lower spending, because the legislature just passed a bill that limits how much we can increase it next year to 3%. Now, we have different departments that are coming here that are saying costs are going up, gas is going up, supplies are going up, everything's going up. There's gonna be things where we're gonna have to make some hard decisions, and I don't want those decisions to fall on existing employees. So, I don't understand why you're taking this personally. This has to do with how can we split the baby and provide the same services to our employees and lower taxes. Now, it may turn out, it may not work. It may cost more. I don't know until I have people in front of me that can give a presentation on what they can or can't do. And then we can ask Shelley's office to say, you know what, that's a great idea, but it won't work, and this is why. We should be able to have a civil conversation without getting defensive, because we all are here for the same purpose.
All right, so you've already reached out to True North, so you almost already know.
I
You've already
don't
done
know,
it.
because what they told me is that we don't know what you guys want. So they wanted to talk to Tess, and obviously Shelley as well, and to work through what things can and cannot be done, what we're looking for. I'm not an HR person. I don't know what Tess does from a day in, day out perspective. But I didn't want them to talk to Tess until I talked to you guys, because I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page on this, because it's gonna take some consultation. But I don't think it's fair to taxpayers for us to not even explore the option where we can provide the same services for less money.
Do you think it might be better if, when we research other avenues, if we would go to those department heads and say, hey, you guys, let's research, maybe outsourcing some of this before we slam dunk them? I mean, wouldn't
I
it
would
be?
love to do that if they would talk to me, Diane.
Well,
Okay, I get emails telling me that I can only talk to them by email, and they'll get back to me when they feel like it, okay? So
Heather,
I
maybe it's
haven't,
because the way you treat people.
okay, so my job is not, I don't represent county employees, I represent the taxpayers. They're the ones that elected me, so it is my job, and I assumed it was all our jobs, to make sure that we do what's best for them, not what's best for us. So when I put things forward, I would like to work as a
A
team.
smooth and functioning county government is what is needed.
and
Correct.
and alienating your employees doesn't help the taxpayers, because nobody will
Well,
talk to
here's the
you.
thing, Diane, I am not the one that did the alienation, I'm doing my job. And part of my job is questioning things, if we can do it more efficiently, cheaper, better.
It could be done in a softer, gentler manner.
When people get offended when I say, I don't think we should be raising employee salaries, and they take that personally, I can't help that. I cannot help that.
That's
These
not
are
what
questions that need to be asked, because ultimately, I work for the taxpayers.
Okay, well,
They're
here's,
the ones
we-
that put me here, put you guys here to do what's best for them. So I'm very concerned that we're not even willing to explore the possibility of providing a service better, more efficiently and less cost. Now, I am open to the possibility that that might not be the case. But
Alright.
until we investigate it, how are we gonna know? We're
Alright,
making a
that's-
lot of
okay,
assumptions
we've
here.
talked that we wanna post the position.
Yep.
And see what's out there for applicants. In the meantime, if Shelley and Tess, while she's still here, and Aaron can discuss the alignment of that a little bit. And Tess would know better than anyone else what outsourcing some of the rules might look like. And then they can report back at our next meeting. But in the meantime, I'd like to get that position posted, so if there's qualified applicants out there, we can start to hit our desk.
How about if we leave it, we'll post the position, and then we'll reach out to Tess, and if she says it's a great idea to look at outsourcing,
Well, that's
then
kind
we'll-
of what
then
I
we'll look at
said.
it.
I think
Yeah,
that Shelley,
we'll
Tess,
look
and
at it.
Aaron can have that discussion and come back with a recommendation in 2 weeks. In the meantime, we can post the position and see if there's applicants out there. There might
We
be,
can look at
there
it.
might be a perfect fit. You never know until you ask. That would be my direction on that at this point. All right, next item, discussing assigning a Madison County supervisor to serve in the North and Middle River Water Management Authority.
Yeah, you guys got that same email.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That she
that's-
sent out. So I didn't know what you wanted to do with that, so that's why I wanted to put on the agenda to discuss if we want to appoint one of us to be on that.
Oh, I put it on the agenda too.
Oh.
I'll sit on it, because I've been.
It's kind of your bailiwick,
It's what-
but
it's what I did.
you've got a lot of appointments. So.
I actually, well, I
Well,
don't
she doesn't
think,
have fifth judicial anymore, but.
I don't think they'll meet,
I don't think it's
it'll
gonna
be
be
a lot.
very often, probably not even
No.
quarterly.
I don't
guess.
think it will be quarterly, I think it could be yearly, and
If
I'm
you're
so
okay in doing
familiar
that,
with it.
So-
that is certainly in your
Yeah,
bailiwick. So.
but I wanted to make sure, because you do have, I mean, on paper, you have a lot of boards, Diane, but do you think you'll be rolling back a little bit on fifth judicial, so you won't have to worry about that?
I don't, yeah, I'm afraid they're just gonna, it's just gonna all go to the DOC.
Okay, so this.
But it's okay, yeah, I'll pick this up
I think
because
it
it's
might
what I
be only
did.
once or
It's,
twice a year.
yeah, I think so too. If they even need, they just need to appoint somebody.
Well, if you wanna get back to Anna and then see
I'll
what
tell
she needs to
Anna
do,
I'll do it.
if we need
Yeah.
to do a formal appointment, we can do that at our next meeting. Okay, we have courthouse project update on Friday the seventh.
Yeah.
I think things are coming along nicely on a lot of fronts. I think the windows are looking good up on the third floor. I went around and looked at some of that. And the heck of it is just there's just a few things that need to get done so that other things can
So
get
big things
I
can
know,
get done.
like the porticos need to be sealed. And then
Yes.
they can put the railings in.
The
and then they
paint
can
is
put the
great,
lighting in, and
it's
then-
approved.
Okay, and then the same thing with the cheek holes. Once that's done, then we can do the sidewalks and whatnot.
And they're
So-
going to be here, I think he told me, not till next week. It's
For-
the stone masons to do the cheek holes.
Excellent. And I think at
And then they're
that,
waiting for some granite.
on that July 7th meeting, then I think after
Yeah.
we meet here, we plan to walk around and look at the
Mhm.
sidewalk a little bit to determine
Do you
what's
know,
construction related, what's not.
There's some that are pretty dangerous
I
on
know.
the exterior.
There are, especially
Yeah.
in the corners,
Oh.
but then I walked, there's that little stretch on the east side that they report some of that. And from there to the corner, this isn't so bad. Then you get to the corner, it's terrible.
Terrible.
So I think what we'll do is we'll have Bryholz mark what they think is construction related
Mhm.
damage. So
They
that's on,
already have,
that's
I
on.
think. And there's
that's on
some more, I
them.
think, there.
And then maybe we can, we'll spray paint it if we're in question on it, maybe we can mark it with chalk and it might be one of those things, by the time we mark what we think's bad and what they think's construction related damage, that's 80% of it.
Do we wanna use different color paint?
I
So
don't
they
wanna use,
know,
I don't wanna use paint because I don't,
In case
in
it's
case
not
we
gonna
don't
be
end
torn
up
up.
doing it.
well, I mean, they have paint that's eventually wears off.
But I guess what my point is that at the end of the day, if they mark 40% and we mark 40% and there's only 20% not getting done, should you do the whole thing?
Yes, yes, it's cheaper to not tell when people come back, it costs more.
So,
And
I
prices
don't
aren't
know,
gonna
we
go
won't know
down.
until we walk around and do that.
And the public expects, when it's done, that everything looks good. That's their expectation. So I think we need to take that into consideration, that even if certain things are not theirs, but it looks bad, we should just fix it.
I do too. I
That's
So when
agree.
what-
things finally turns over, it looks good.
That's why we need to do a walk around
Yeah.
and kind of identify that. so.
Walk with sandals and you catch your toe and you know
No, I'm
exactly
not
what's
gonna
bad.
do that. Are they, do you think they'll be done with the lifts by the 7th? Or they still have a
They
few
took
more
a
weeks?
lift away
The
yesterday.
big one.
The big,
The
big
big
one,
one
but
away.
the small one's coming back, I think,
I
for
wish
the.
they'd have washed the windows when the lift was in.
But that was a lift for the dome, wasn't it?
I don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, that'll be on the 7th. Comp plan update.
Next meeting's on the 11th.
11th, okay.
He sent me a bunch of maps last night, I haven't had a chance to go through, so I'll be forwarding several emails to you guys, once I have a chance to look at that. But that's where their stage is right now, doing the map layers. So yeah, I'll know more in next meeting exactly how much longer, hopefully.
Okay.
So,
All right, an ordinance review will come after that. Is there anything else? Not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great 4th of July weekend.
Thanks.
What's that recorder? Pass that back around the shelf. We should all just sit in a row.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just sit here.
Or you, Heather, you can start for that matter.
Okay.
That way we just.
Just,
And we're not gonna go back to the, it's too confusing.